Being a researcher, creating scientific figures has always been one of the most challenging parts of my work. Searching for icons, aligning arrows, fixing labels, and adjusting layouts is seriously time consuming before the final figure looks publication ready. So I have always wanted an AI tool that could turn my ideas into professional scientific figures. Recently, I was exploring FigPad, scientific image generator, but I had one simple question. Will it be actually useful? Because researchers don't just care about beautiful diagrams that can be done even with ChatGPT or Midjourney. I care about whether the science is accurate, whether the quality is good enough for papers and presentations, whether I can edit the figure later when the reviewer asks for changes. And most importantly, can AI generated figures actually be used in research publications, which I will be covering in the later portion of the video. So let's get started. There are four major features this tool offers you. Along the way, while giving the live demo, we will see how well its text to figure generation, sketch conversion, image referencing, and editing capabilities actually perform. Many researchers need workflow diagrams for papers, presentations, teachings, and grant applications. So for this, first I asked FigPad to create a multi-step genomics workflow and wanted to see whether it could organize a complex process into a clear visual diagram. The result is actually quite good. Most of the major steps are included. The workflow is easy to follow, and the combination of text and visuals makes it easier to understand. Although I would still make some refinements before using it in a publication, adding a few details and replacing some icons. Now, workflow diagrams are relatively simple, so I will be trying something more challenging, a biological signaling pathway. Here, I have generated an insulin signaling pathway and see how FigPad depicts molecules, signaling proteins, cellular compartments, and interactions. You can clearly identify the insulin receptor, the downstream signaling cascade, and the final glucose uptake response. The organelles, molecules, and labels make the pathway reasonably good. Of course, this isn't a perfect figure as I wished for. Some intermediates are missing, and I don't think this zoomed in section adds much value to the diagram. But that's partly because the output depends heavily on the prompt I provided. Now, generating images is one thing, but in science, you also need to make sure that it is accurate. Also, you may need to revise it after supervisor's feedback or reviewer's comment. So here you get a few options. First one to edit the text, using which you can edit the labels. Using lasso tool, you can also encircle an area and ask it to make specified changes only in the encircled region as the instruction you provide. Unlike traditional image generators that create static images, FigPad supports SVG export and includes a built-in editor, allowing you to refine the labels and include elements without starting over again. You can explore the advanced editor option and shortcut keys here. Once you are satisfied, you can export the figure as PNG, SVG, or PowerPoint. So far, we have generated figures from text prompts and how they can be edited. But that's not the only way to use FigPad. If you already have rough sketches in notebooks or on whiteboards, instead of providing detailed text, FigPad can convert a hand-drawn sketch into a professional scientific figure. For this test, I uploaded a rough sketch of synaptic transmission and gave it a simple prompt to transform it into a publication style illustration. What I like is it preserves the core scientific concept while greatly improving the visual quality. If you already have an idea sketched out, which is sometimes easier than defining everything as a text, then this is probably the quickest way to turn it into a cleaner presentation or publication ready figure. Plus, this way you can give personal touch to the figures. Now let's try a slightly different use case where I will generate a new image using an existing reference. Here I have provided a reference image illustrating the effects of water deficit on plant physiology. Instead of simply redrawing the image, I asked FigPad to create a new figure comparing control, heat stress, and salt stress conditions along with the major physiological changes associated with each treatment. The generated figure is largely close to my expectations, although a few elements still need adjustment and refinement. For example, I don't really need this bottom section, but I can quickly remove it using the lasso tool and keep only the parts that are relevant to my figure. These are just a few examples that I have shown to you, but I have also generated dozens of images of different kinds including graphical abstracts, educational illustrations, journal covers, and others. You can also explore these images, prompts, and even video tutorials provided at their official page to get a clearer picture about the tool. Now, one question many researchers will have is, can these figures be actually used in publications and presentations? My view on this is FigPad can dramatically reduce the time required to create diagrams, workflows, and visual concepts. But before you include it in your research paper or presentation, make sure to verify every label, entire pathway, and necessary scientific details. Overall, FigPad is useful for creating first draft of scientific figures. Its editor also allows you to refine the outputs, and it can significantly reduce the time spent building figures from the scratch. I encourage you to test it for free with your own research examples and decide whether it fits your workflow. I have included the link in the description. Let me know your experience about this tool or share any other research challenge you are facing. I will try to cover them in my upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.